So welcome back. I just finished recording what is the bar exam, the longest explanation possible, and for those of you that know me, I'm sure you're just laughing to yourselves because I talk and talk and talk, and I will be out of a voice by the time I'm done with this. So I had put off actually talking about my week 1 overview because I found that every time I was trying to record it, I was just trying to explain what the bar exam was. So I got that over and done with. You can refer to that video to understand a little bit more about the content of the bar exam and sort of what I or anyone else who's taking it is facing. So this is back to sort of the personal story portion of our program. I just as a recap, I have signed up for Barbri. That is the commercial prep program that I've chosen. And I've also signed up for a program through the University of Denver called the DU Bar Success Program, run by a wonderful professor, Professor Johns, who injects a good deal of humor and common sense into bar prep, which I think is incredibly grounding for most of us who are trying to take it. So this week 1 overview is actually a 2-week overview because Barbri offers a preview week that is multiple choice questions in each subject, with a lecture afterward about the correct answers and then why that was incorrect or whatever else. One of the things that I'll probably end up talking about quite a bit is the sort of atmosphere around the bar prep programs. Not the programs themselves, but the people who take them. A lot of people who are taking the bar exam, who are taking the bar prep programs right now, are people who just graduated law school. It makes sense. You graduate law school, you then immediately start studying for the bar, and you pass the bar in July. And so I want to, it's not even that I want to. One of the things that's sort of been affecting me is being around all the recent law grads. In law school, you're kind of judged by your class rank. It's not an absolute, but a lot of people do judge themselves based on their class rank, on how they're doing compared to everybody else. There is a feature on Barbri Study Smart software that allows you to compare yourself to other people who are taking the same questions. What percentile rank are you in for that subject matter? So comparison is sort of a part of the game. That is something that has been a nemesis for me for many, many, many years, just on an individual level. So it's something that I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid all the comparisons. One of the biggest challenges of both the preview week and this week has been a lot of comparisons that I'm drawing between myself and others. And so I've been keeping a sort of separate list. I keep a notebook next to me whenever I'm studying, where I put in all of my negative thoughts. So everything from I'm too fat, I don't know, body image stuff is coming up this week, to I'm not smart enough to do this, to God, you should have paid attention in property, you should have gone to the lecture on trust yesterday, whatever. All the couldas, shouldas, would'ves, all of that end up on that list. And I'm finding that in keeping that list, not only can I kind of keep track of the issues that keep coming up over and over and over again, but I can also sort of set them aside. I've paid attention to them by putting them on the list, but then I don't have to think about them anymore. And then I go back through I went back through at the end of the week and started putting some positive statements next to the negative statements. Like, instead of saying, I'm too fat or I'm too dumb, I can say, I really accept myself where I am right now. And I know for some law students out there that might seem a little too, woo-woo, mystic boo sort of stuff. But that is sort of who I am, and that's sort of where I'm headed with my life, and one of the things I want to preserve about myself for this bar exam. One of the things that I'm also dealing with this week that has been incredibly difficult was the day before bar prep, the actual classes started. My brother died. My oldest brother died, and I've had to record this 2 or 3 times because at one point I broke into so many tears that it wasn't worth it to continue recording. My brother died. And I had to make the very difficult decision not to go out to be with my family for that. To this day, and I may never know what the rest of my family thinks of me for it. Maybe, you know, I keep getting these judgments in my head of you're just so selfish, and you're, you know, why is the bar exam more important than your brother? And I have a lot of reasons. I don't know. I can't judge whether they're justified or not. But it is something that I know I'm not the only person who's had to deal with this. And I know I'm not the only person who has had to make this decision to not drop everything to go out to be there for the death of a loved one. As I mentioned in an earlier video, the bar exam is a major, major commitment. Even if I were to withdraw from the bar exam right now, I wouldn't get all of my money back. Money's sort of a big issue for me right now. And while I could certainly take it in February, it doesn't get me any closer to my goals. And it means that already the 2 or 3 months that I have spent studying are then put on hold. And it's not anyone's fault. It's certainly not my brother's fault or his family's fault. Life happens. And one of the gigantic challenges on the bar exam is deciding for yourself how you're going to deal with those life challenges that continue to happen no matter what. I will say that I've learned a lot of lessons this week just in dealing with that. I've learned that it's really hard for me to study something like wills, knowing that my family is having to deal with that, or that is going to be an issue for them in the very near future. Makes it a little bit too real for me. And there's some subjects on the bar exam that I think are too real for some people. I mean, in general. I mean, we have all lived very full lives, some of us with more adventure or trauma than others. And so I think one of the things that people don't talk about the bar exam, because the bar exam is supposed to be sort of this very cold, sharp, you know, you deal with the law. But if you are at all like me and have an emotional quotient through the roof, which you may have been drawn to the practice of law to help people, you're going to have to manage your emotions and manage your emotional responses, and that is a very difficult task. So I am dealing with the death of my brother. I'm also having to deal with the guilt of not participating in a lot of the things that are happening out on the East Coast for him right now and his family. One of the things during week 1, just brief overview, I've written 4 practice essays. I have done a couple of multiple choice questions. I've done about 18 of them. Okay, that's not a couple. And I have sat through 3 or 4 different lectures. Everyone today is actually just now getting out of the lecture, the Barbri 2 lecture. I did not go to that one today. I opted to stay home and watch the lecture online and do all my note-taking at home, because I'm finding the one day that I stayed at home is the day that I got the most done. I was the least distracted, which is actually really odd for me because I'm normally very distracted at home. But I noticed that when I went to law school, in part because of this competition atmosphere that is still alive and well with some of the very recent grads, that just was not helpful for me. I would find that they would be getting out of a lecture and they would be comparing their scores to each other, or, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to learn, blah, 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 blah. And even if it's just what they feel, I'm not here to change their mind necessarily, I'm here to change my mind. But having to hear all that and be in the middle of that environment is also just really difficult for me. So the challenges have been that I'm learning a lot about what I'm doing wrong on the essays. I haven't gotten any of the graded essays back yet, so I don't know. Maybe I'm judging myself too harshly. Maybe I'm not judging myself harshly enough. Harsh judgment is probably not a good thing to do to yourself during this time. It is all learning. You are learning how to take this test. You are learning how to provide an answer that is going to get a good grade. It's not that you don't know the law. And so I'm having to really sort of remind myself of that. And the other thing I'm having to remind myself of is there are a lot of different suggestions out there of what you can and can't do, what you should and shouldn't do in preparing for the bar exam. And I'm finding that what I really need to do is take about half an hour every single day and decide what is going to be best for me. What is best for my energy level today? Did I get enough sleep? Did I get enough food? Did I get enough love? Whatever. And where my brain is at today. Is it sort of in an essay mode where I could push out 5 or 6 different essays and really look through them, evaluate them well? Am I in a lecture mode? Am I in whatever? So I have to adapt based on where I am in that given day. So week 1 overview, Barbri Preview week. If no one has told you this yet, if you are in week 1 and you are getting 50% of your multiple choice questions correct, celebrate, have a little bit of a party, give yourself a cupcake, I don't care. That's actually a good thing. That is a really good thing, and that was something that I didn't know the first time around. I got very discouraged by the lack of progress on my MBE practice questions, and I kind of gave up doing them. Well, now I know a little bit better, and I know that if I'm hovering around 50%, I'm still doing okay. That's not a reason to give up. And it can only go up from there. And if it dips down, then maybe you are answering some harder questions. All of it is an opportunity to learn. So, yes, dealing with a very difficult week, a very difficult emotional week, a very difficult intellectual week, and studying about 10 hours a day, except for today. And then I'm going to go to a Rockies game tomorrow and probably do some practice questions while I wait for the game to start. If I can get questions right when I'm sitting in a ballpark, awesome. That means that I'll be able to sit through all the people coughing, all the people clearing their throats, all the people who are gnashing their teeth and, you know, sweating bullets. So if I can live through a ball game and get something correct, then I can live through the bar exam and get something correct. So, week 1 overview. Do what's right for you and honor yourself in the process. That is the big lesson this week.